Hey, Waik Tohoai tip, everybody. Thank you for joining this very important event, this
No
solidarity
worries.
fundraiser for Free Palestine TV. And we're connecting from all over the world here to show our solidarity, but Indigenous peoples from so-called Canada have been battling the same issue for land and self-determination, for our freedom and liberation as well. Our movements are connected with each other. We have some co-hosts here that would like to introduce themselves. My name is Kanahus Freedom Manuel, and I'm from the Secwepemc and the Tanaka Nations. I'm representing with Tiny House Warriors and fighting for our Secwepemc land rights here in so-called Columbia, Canada. If we can get the other co-hosts on there to introduce themselves before we start bringing people on,
Hey, I'm Joseph.
or just so
I'm
you
gonna I'm
know, and Elena and Laith, the co-hosts, could you introduce yourselves before we start? Everyone else, could you put your mic on mute?
Hey everybody, my name is Laith Mahfouz. I'm a Palestinian that lived in so-called Canada for 27 years. I'm currently in Beirut, Lebanon, and I have worked for a long time on cross solidarity work, revolutionary work between our indigenous nations across these waters, and specifically working on media and education through media on our struggles here and back in Canada, so-called Canada. Thank you very much all for hosting this event and for coming to stand in solidarity with the latest project that we're trying to work here on. Free Palestine Television is a community organization that is based on volunteer work from students and community members and professors to try to bring the stories of our communities here unfiltered, without government or corporate backing that can filter that to the rest of the world. And I can say as a Palestinian that the most important form of solidarity across this whole planet has been the solidarity and support of the indigenous peoples in colonized lands, like in North America and in Oceania. That this is what hits, I think, at the core of the issues that we are facing.
Hey, don't call me a bozo, okay?
Impossible to deny.
You're muted.
Kelwa ala mshnuknukwa Elena and Squachicha, Chalach Machgan, Muta Chachlit Machgan, Latliat Machgan, Uchwa Milch, Nilch Rose, and Shkichas Nilch
I'd
Percy.
appreciate it if we keep this meeting in English, please. No other languages, please. Just stick to the code, please.
I'm just saying my name and where I'm from. That's all I'm
Yeah. That's your rule. English only.
Okay.
Just stick to
I
English,
just want
okay?
to say thank you to Free Palestine TV and to Laith and Kanahus, all the guests. Thank you very much for being here. And thank you to the viewers. It's an honor to be here. The circumstances are really horrific right now, but we hope to do our part to help amplify and lift up the voices of the Palestinian resistance and raise some money for this important cause. The silencing and the censoring and the erasure of the voices of the Palestinians must end. That's why we're all here today. You know, as Native people, we all know what that's like, and whatever contribution that we can make, we hope to do that here today. So thank you very much. Thank you, Elena. I would like to now just really go into some of the real issues why we're here in the Free Palestine TV. I know we have a lot of guests here that have come to give their solidarity, but I would like Laith to have the time right now to, really talk about why our connection is between me and him, and being able to make sure that our communications is not controlled by the colonizers. And right now, our social media feeds are being fed with a lot of information, and some of it is propaganda. And why we're really supporting Free Palestine TV. I myself am going to make a donation today. I'll donate $100 towards Free Palestine TV. I believe in it. And so, Laith, I just bring you back on again before we start bringing people on, just to give more about the Free Palestine TV and what will that serve and there, and why it's so needed.
Yeah, well, there's two things that we're trying to do here. On the one hand, bring the voice of our communities here in Lebanon and in Palestine to the rest of the world in English language. And this is a lot of work that we see. It's being done by our communities on social media, but we don't have English language speaking television that is not banned in the West, that is not associated with a government or a state. So that is in itself a very important work to do, to bring the voice of these communities in English and what's happening on the borders here in Lebanon, and what could happen very soon if this war breaks out in a bigger scale, and what's happening on the ground in Palestine. The other part of community media production is taking the youth and the community members and enabling them, giving them the tools, the skills, the equipment to produce this content that actually represents them and represents their views and their hopes, and helps them build a community together. This is what's unique about community volunteer media work, and what beyond the media that comes out of it that is very important is creating these connections and communities together. Look, here in Lebanon, the colonizer, when they came, the French, they left behind them a constitution that forces a religious bisect representation sectarian representation of the population in the parliament. So there's 18 religious sects, and each one of them has a reserved seatings and so forth in the parliament. So you can imagine how this sectarianism left by the colonizer, how much it creates problems in the society. And when you come and create a community television like this, the Free Palestine TV, and you have students that are, Sunni Muslim, Shia, Christian Orthodox, Christian Catholic, secular, what have you, different ages, different genders, religious not, coming together, they are creating a community that is decolonizing in itself, beyond the media that we hope that all these members have created, that will make a difference in opinions in the world and bring more knowledge to our situation. So I ask you all to please donate, help us create this content, bring this information to your community members, and let's build this together, because the story of the liberation of Palestine is now being written also by people in the streets in imperial lands like so-called Canada, led by indigenous communities like you that are on the street and having content, for instance, created by these indigenous communities and members that are active and airing on Free Palestine TV. And that is how this station will grow, and the ability for the content to go further is to bring together all our efforts and concentrate them in one stream. Thank you.
All right, let's bring some support on. Let's bring Cleo on. She's been on for a while. She's Cree, and she's from one of the communities that are impacted by the Alberta tar sands, and a big resistance and fight that's coming from there, you know, linked with the big global oil. So let's hear from Cleo. Cleo, could you come on now and share your solidarity?
Hi. Yeah, dan steek hier. Yeah, we have to actually communicate in the English language, you know, our colonial language here in Canada. But just want to say greetings from northern Alberta, Canada. I'm from the Fort McMurray First Nation. And like Kanahu said, yes, we are right in the middle of the tar sands, which sends this dirty oil all over to prop up the governments that that use oil, the oil industry as their main source of income. So I'm speaking to you as an Indigenous sovereign person. Treaty 8. Our treaty was signed in 1899. And we are many Indigenous people from this part of the northern part of Canada, what we is known as Canada. And this treaty was signed before it became an actual country with the colonial power that took over. But speaking as an Indigenous person, I am very saddened and shocked at what is going on in Gaza. I am really worried and sad for all the people there. And I think that the continuation of this war that is getting rid of all their housing and all their things like hospitals and schools, and it's going to make it very hard for those people to rebuild. We know what it's like to have things taken away from us as people, to have our rights being trampled upon, and we know that it is wrong to that this kind of thing continues happening around the world. I watched with horror what was happening in Ukraine, and now what's happening in Gaza, and I think that shame on those United States leaders that allowed this to continue to happen when it could have made a difference by voting no in the United Nations. So I'm here as an Indigenous person in support of those people who are suffering, those ones that had their lands taken away, have their lands being destroyed at this very moment. And for all those children and people and women and that are left to suffer the way they are doing is inhumane. It's cruel, and it has to change. It has to stop. So thank you for listening, and I'll go on to the next.
Thanks, John. Thank you, Cleo. Is Suzanne Patlas still on here? We'll go straight to the East Coast. Suzanne Patlas has been involved in a lot of resistance out there protecting our sea, and for our Indigenous people, we've been resisting from sea to sea, right from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean. So Suzanne, could you come on, share with us. I know we haven't seen each other for a while, but it's always good to see fellow warriors and comrades in the struggle all on this video. This is a very rare sight, and I'm so happy. So let's hear what Suzanne, are you here?
I'm here. I'm glad you invited me today to come and speak on this very important issue. What we see happening internationally in Palestine could very well definitely happen here to Indigenous people in so-called Canada, and even in the United States. What happens to other Indigenous people and the acceptance of that treatment is a reflection of society, and it's a reflection of what they're going to allow in terms of oppressive models that they're willing to impose upon individuals. It's really important that we speak up against these things that are happening to other Indigenous peoples in other colonized states. Because at one time, when we think about the world, it went from the rule of monarchy to statehood. And right now, we're at the beginning of a shift away from statehood and back to indigeneity that it once was. And with that hope, we have to stand together, united against oppressive models that attempt to annihilate who we are and our connection to our land and our heritage and our connections to Creator. Here in Mi'kmaq territory, we've been fighting the oppressor for hundreds and hundreds of years. We signed peace and friendship treaties, not with Canada, but with the monarchy. And that was prior to the international, statehood. It was wars that recognized a lot of statehood around the world, and I think that calling out against these wars and is going to reverse that power that statehood has over the people. I really think that it's important that we're coming here today to speak on our voices and be in solidarity with what is happening to the Palestinian people in Gaza. It's atrocious and it's wrong. That should have never happened. The world has become complacent in saying anything, and there's a lot of fear in even saying anything because people don't want to upset the status quo. And that's not acceptable. We're not in a world where we have to stay quiet for other people's comfort. We have to speak out so that those who are uncomfortable can get that comfort instead of those who are in power. I just hope that we're able to come together in a good way that'll allow for the voices of the Palestinian people to come forward through the Free Palestine TV, that their voices are heard and that their struggle is humanized. A lot of times when there are these types of struggles, and even within our own movements, in our communities and in our territories, that a misunderstanding and misinformation is a lot of reason why there's not a big understanding. And I really hope that their voices become amplified by our raising their voices up. Just like Kanuhus, you and I have had these discussions many times, that as Indigenous people, we have to act as one body. If one part of our body is hurt, the other parts respond and feel it too, because it's reverberates throughout all of us. So I think that how we navigate this issue and how we ensure that the voices are heard and that peace is obtained, that we need to work together and uplift those voices and ensure that this this genocide it doesn't go unnoticed, and that they're not able to silence it. So that's all I have to say for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. For those that don't know, the so-called country of Canada is the second largest country in the world, and we've been, organizing from coast to coast. And we have this saying, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. And so this is the same saying. I want to, land to the Palestinian peoples. You mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. We're all in this together. So, Laith or Elena, you want to bring on some other of the next guests or have something to add?
Yeah, I want to say that to our brethren in so-called Canada, our Indigenous brothers and sisters, your struggles and your fights against colonialism and the rape of your lands is actually liberating other people across this planet. Just like the struggle for the liberation of Palestine and the resistance of the Palestinian people is liberating other peoples across this planet. For instance, let's take this extraction of oil from so-called Alberta, North and these territories, and the building of the pipelines for the gas and the oil across the indigenous lands to bring them out to ports for export. Because of your resistance as indigenous peoples against these projects for the last decade and a half, this made it harder for the West to mobilize their military capabilities in their war against Russia. They couldn't find a replacement for the Russian gas and oil. They had their idea was to bring out indigenous resources that are looted before this war in Ukraine started, so they can replace that. And your resistance there over the last decade and a half is actually made the empire weaker, made it possible for other regions in the world to have their freedom. And similarly now, indigenous people, Palestinian people's resistance against Israeli colonialism is exposing, because of this genocide, exposing the hypocrisy of Western quote unquote freedoms, and is allowing other people in the world to see that and escape and the illusion and fight for their own liberation. So our struggles are connected. Sometimes it's hard to see the finer details and how they're connecting, but there's also bigger connections that are old in terms of how this quote unquote white man sees themselves, this imaginary white man. And the Arabic peoples and their ancestors have a relation of being the first other to Europeans. When they came out of Europe, first people they met is us on the east and south of the Mediterranean, what you call now the Arabic people. And our relationship with Europeans was them seeing themselves as opposite of us. And at the same time, not only occupying our lands like the Greeks and the Romans, but looting our identities. Before there was a pretendian in so-called Canada, there was a pretend Semite, pretend, from thousands of years ago, when they looted gods of the Canaanites Canaanites and made them the gods of the Greeks and the Romans, or when they looted our alphabet and made it the Greek and Roman alphabet, Latin alphabet, or when they looted Christianity and made it an imperial religion, from taking it from Jerusalem to the Vatican, or right now looting Judaism, which is an indigenous religion from our land, and making it Zionism and Israel. So our relationship with European is being the first other, and his attempt to constantly play pretend Semite. When he was defeated in the Crusades, and the Crusaders said the same thing as the Zionists, that they are the chosen people, and that they are coming to the promised land, and that they're bringing Armageddon, perverting Christianity, our religion, and they were defeated. And that's when they turned and crossed the oceans and met you, your peoples. And in their finding of the new world, they were able to pretend Semite with nobody waking them up from their delusion, the actual Semite. They came to Canada and the United States and called it the Promised Land. They said that they were the chosen people. This is the European Christians that came to Canada and America, that there was terra nullius. The Pope gave a fatwa that the land is empty. Like the Zionists say, Palestine is a land without a people for people without a land. And the pilgrims, as they said, they're running away from religious persecution in Europe. And therefore they genocide indigenous people, steal their land, and do a Thanksgiving. It's a similar idea of saying that the running away from the Holocaust, and that gives you the right to genocide the indigenous people of Palestine and take it. So our relationship as Palestinians and as indigenous people in this idea of what is a white man, the imaginary white man, is actually intertwined. Without playing a pretend Semite, he can't also play pretend Indian. It's so deep, and it's hard sometimes to see that with all the propaganda of 400 years of perversion of the indigenous religion of Christianity by these Europeans and how they applied it on the indigenous people. Sorry if I went on a monologue there.
No, we need all that education, all the history and the lessons that we need. We're all trying to build this collective knowledge that's going to help us in our resistance globally. So thank you, Laith. I know there's a lot of people on this call. Let's try to get some, and I know we have Slato. Slato's traveling away from her territory right now, but she's here, and we want to get her on. We don't know how much time she has, so let's try to get Slato here so she could share some words. Thank you, Laith. Slato, you here?
I think she might have got disconnected.
Okay,
I'm
let
not
me see.
seeing her.
Let me see who else is here. I see Logan's here, and Logan was he's Mohawk warrior. He can introduce himself, but there's some other people he's also invited on. He's been a part of traveling around to other resistance movements, not just staying in his territory. So solidarity really means a lot. And he's put his body on the front lines. He's gotten assaulted and even violently attacked by the police here in so-called Canada for standing up for our Indigenous rights to our land. So here, let's listen to Logan, and bring whoever on after if you see other people on this call that you invited. Thank you.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay, Sego, I am Logan. I'm here. I'm calling from Six Nations, representing the Mohawk and the First Nations Indigenous Warriors Society. Yeah, I'm just here, to listen, to learn, to see how, I can contribute, to brainstorm, to, build that bridge of communication between all the amazing people that are on this call right now. That's one of the most exciting things for me right now. It's just the different individuals that are on this call right now, and like how long I've just been waiting for that bridge of communication to be opened up. So hello everyone, all my familiar friends that are on the call. And yeah, it's so, without knowing too much about the politics, it's really easy to see the parallels between what's going on in Palestine and what's happened to our people, so being on an Indigenous frontline here in Canada is something that I know how to do. I know how to get in my van and go to the front line and hold space. But one thing I'm curious about is how can I contribute more to the fight in Palestine? We're doing solidarity actions and all across Turtle Island, and we paint some good targets. But I'm wondering, how can I take it a step further? How can we work together, more cohesively, to do some real damage, whether it's economic or whatever, and I think there's a lot of people on this call that are in the same boat, right? Like, how do we contribute? And this Free Palestine TV is something that's new to me, and I'm so excited to be here and learn more about it and how I can contribute. And but the biggest part for me is just to be here and just to listen, and really hear everybody's ideas and everybody's perspectives, and yeah, and just try to help in any way that I can. So thank you so much, for inviting me to the call. I'm not sure who from my homies is on the call. I know I've seen Rainbow Eyes, but I don't know if she's still here. Are you here, Rainbow Eyes? Yeah, she's here.
Hey Logan, yeah, I'm here. Thanks for that, brother warrior. I'm here with Glenn as well, and I see Charlotte on here too. So it's so good that we have people from Fairy Creek. We're so grateful to be here and listen and learn, like Logan said, and it's so good listening to Leith and seeing faces of warrior women that we've heard so much about. It's so grateful to be here with everyone. I'm a member of the Danakdao Awitlala First Nation. Our traditional territory is Night Inlet, which is North Vancouver Island into the mainland. This is through my mother's side. And we heard the call of the forest because it's in our DNA to stand up for Mother Earth. It's in all of our Indigenous, it's in the cells of our being to stand up for Mother Earth. And I think because we've lost that, because of Western society, because of modern civilization, we don't lift up our brothers and sisters. So I think the first step that we need, that we're being called to do by the forest and Mother Earth and our lands and the waters is to stand up for our land and territories all over the world, internationally, connect to our brothers and sisters. Then next is what we call in Kwakwala is Mayahala, which is respect. It's respect for ourselves. And then respect goes out to others and Mother Earth. So I'm just so grateful that we're here to cause a ruckus, to be loud, to learn how to act in accordance to the higher good and to each other against the system of colonization. And I just want to say thank you. And I'm learning, and I want to learn what I can do to spread this light that Mother Earth gave us to the rest of the world and share it, because we're trembling right now and we just are steadying and growing our roots into Mother Earth so we are strong for each other. So yeah, Gayla Kesla would love to hear from other people. Charlotte, Glenn, whoever. Glenn's good. Thank you, Gayla Kessler.
Wow, thank you. That's so powerful. Does Glenn want to say something since Glenn's right there with you?
Yeah, I like to be the silent type, but sometimes I have to talk. Basically, yeah, the whole thing in Palestine is people, there's children being annihilated. Plain and simple. All the politics aside, everything, Jews, Muslims, put that all the time. People are dying. It's the end of the story. It has to stop. Politics, we know what politics is all about. It's a few greedy bastards. More for them, less for us. That's it. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And Charlotte, there's the other comrade of yours there. Charlotte, is she there? Willing to say some words? If people don't know Fairy Creek, maybe that's another thing, just for a couple quick seconds, talk about Fairy Creek and the big resistance that happened for people watching globally that don't know. Rainbow Eyes?
Yeah. So Fairy Creek, I guess legally speaking, is Canada's largest act of civil disobedience. And there was no media show on it because that is the way our government works. That is the colonial system. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people came together to protect the last of the old growth on Turtle Island, to stand up against industry and government about a resource extraction for the last standing old growth forests of Fairy Creek on the Pachidat and Dididat First Nation on southern Vancouver Island. We were invited by Elder Bill Jones of the Pachidat First Nation to come protect his territory, the sacred land, which he calls a cathedral. Elder Bill likes to say that his grandfather told him to go into the forest and connect to the silence. And that is where you will find meaning and the truth. And he says the words that we use and the way we conduct ourselves will come out of that silence. I'll share quickly something else that Elder Bill says every time he speaks now. And he is an incredible speaker and channeler of spirit. He has said, we have been on this path that we are on since the time of Alexander the Great. This path of conquering power, control, and war. And he says, it is our generation, it is for those who are alive now to gather the courage to get off this path. And the path is towards the Rainbow Nation. It's a path towards one. We are one spirit. This is what he says. So it's so beautiful. This is what Fairy Creek is. And it was a spirit school. So any blockade, the Wet'suwet'en, all blockades, it's a spirit school where we go, where we learn how to interact with each other, and it's outside of the constraints of the colonial system. It's a gift. If anybody has the chance to go into a blockade, take it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. It's so important that we all support each other. This is all one fight, and thank you for the background information on Fairy Creek. Do we still have Isaac here? If Isaac is in the room, Isaac is an artist, storyteller, singer. He's Anishinaabe, and if you wouldn't mind, Isaac, to maybe just introduce yourself, give us a little bit of background, and maybe comment on the similarities between what we're seeing here in our lands and the people in Palestine. And maybe if you have an extra minute to talk about the role that the Western media is playing in like the message that they're sending. A lot of people here aren't really familiar with what's going on in Palestine. And I'm talking about amongst our people. I talk to a lot of people and they don't really understand. And they don't really understand what it has to do with us and why we should support them. So if maybe you could just touch on that a little bit.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you for having me here. This is a very important discussion that we're having. It's also a very important fundraiser so that we can get resources to those that need it most. I'm going to start off with my traditional Anishinaabe greeting, which is a formal greeting that we give so that we can send medicine out to those who need it. And I'll translate this greeting. Bonjour, and then we maganaduk. Mazanapkan gego and abe and dishnakaz. Kenebe gukshibigajwat and donchaba, ganoje and do dem. Nimki ajbakang, ninda. Gitchinendam, yayamam p, wiganonenguk. So I'm very happy to be able to speak here with you today. My name is, my birth name is the man who paints the rocks. I come from the village where the serpents are painted on the rocks. And I live at Nimki Ajbakong. I'm Ojibwe and I come from Serpent River. And so, I think that when we look at just the whole globalization of colonization and how it's creeping into every corner of the world, it's creeping into every little spot, not missing anywhere. And it's not just colonization, it's Western thought, it's Western education, it's taking over lands and resources, and it's displacing people in their own lands. Like, people are refugees in their own lands. And so when I think about us as Anishinaabe people, it's like we're under a very oppressive apartheid system called the Indian Act. And our traditional lands have been taken over by the so-called Crown. And there was a huge genocide against our people too, and of the first peoples of Turtle Island, where they say that perhaps maybe even close to 75 to 90 million Indigenous people had died, since time of arrival of the colonizers. And so we know about land dispossession. We know about the genocide that happens to our young people too. And so right now, all over the country, there's children that are being found at these residential schools, and they were killed on purpose by the Canadian government, because if you want to try to get rid of a people, you get rid of their young people. And that's something that I'm seeing in Palestine. So right now in Palestine, we know that there is an active genocide against the Palestinian people for their lands. And so you get millions of people that are being displaced. You get, of course, tens of thousands of children that are dying, that have been murdered. And that's something that, as Indigenous people of these lands here, we can relate to that. We understand that. And that doesn't make us anti-Semitic. That doesn't make us like a racist people, because we're supporting the life of children that are being killed, and for families that are being displaced for their lands by a group of people that are colonizers. We have to remember that the colonization that's taking place in Palestine is not just from historically people from that region, or from Jewish people from those regions, but there's a whole influx of people coming from all over the world going to Israel and displacing the indigenous people of Palestine. And so that's how colonization works. They form their gangs, they form their posses, and it just becomes this great big mass movement of people that just keeps rolling over the earth, and it just keeps taking and destroying. And it all has to do with, well, of course, resources. That's it. If you were to trace this right down to the bare bones of what's really going on, and why Canada and why United States and NATO are supporting this, it all has to do with resources. There's no question. There's no way that they would invest so much money into Israel if there was no return on investment. There's a reason why this is happening. And of course they use racism they have to make the Palestinian people less than because it justifies taking what they have. They have to villainize them and demonize them. And we know that as Indigenous people here in Canada, because that's exactly what happens to us. They say, oh, you're a no good for nothing, drunken, dirty, lazy bum Indian. And then they go to the Palestinian people, oh, you guys are bad and you do this and you do that and you don't know how to do things right and blah, 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 you're evil and all you want to do is kill people and blow people up. Well, that's not true. Like, these are irrational beliefs. And so colonization uses racism as a tool to, and that's where media comes in. Media is really, really bad because mainstream media is being controlled and being puppeted by corporations that have interests in whatever's going on there. And so right now, it's very important that we support these free media outlets so that the truth can be exposed. The truth needs to be told. And there's nothing wrong with having compassion and having empathy and having some goddamn
We lost Isaac there for a second. That was like beautiful. Thank you very much. I hope we're gonna get you back in a second. I just wanna say two things to Rainbow Eyes. The relationship between an Indigenous people and their land and their nature is one of the strongest things that allows us to resist colonization and genocide. And the enemy of Indigenous people, the colonizers, always attack this as a primary thing. And because as colonizers, when they don't have relationship to the nature around them, they can then think of this nature as resources and extract it and rape it and quickly make the highest profit possible after genociding the Indigenous people and severing the relationship with its nature. To us as Palestinians, I remember through my travels in what is called Vancouver Island and what is called North British Columbia and Hideaway, and seeing the relationship of Indigenous nations to these, in those regions, to these old growth red cedar giants, thinking of them, the Haida people, thinking of them as sisters and ancestors. That reminded me as a Palestinian to the relationship that we as Palestinians have to the olive trees. Most olive trees in Palestine are thousands of years old. The orchards are inherited through families and tribes, and people call these trees by names, okay, because some of these trees are literally 3,000 years old. And so the grandmother taking care of this orchard would wake up in the morning and call on her grandchildren to go and take care of a certain tree, calling her Khadija or Aisha or whatever. They know which tree she's talking. And so that is a relationship of an Indigenous person to the land that actually they are rooted in, just like that tree is rooted in that land. A person who's a colonizer, neither he or whatever they bring with them to that land is rooted in it and will just wither away. But these moments of this of relationship is what we should build on. And our resistance in such ways is inspiring humanity to go back to their roots, not only our peoples.
We have Isaac back now.
Sorry, everybody. My phone overheated. It must have been my overheated conversation that blew up my phone. But let's talk about media just for a little bit. Oftentimes, like I was saying before, the media is being controlled by corporations and the messaging and stuff like that. And so when we have an outlet of actual media that's being run by grassroots people that understand what's happening in Palestine, that's giving out truth, that's something that we need to support. And so I donate $1,000 to the radio station. But not only that, I also give my heart and prayers out to the people of Palestine. And that, when I say free Palestine, I also mean to free those trees too, because they're being chopped down. To free all of the nature and all of the beautifulness that's there, that's being destroyed by colonization and by this massive influx of people that are taking over the territories and like really rearranging the whole ecosystems. And so, I hope and pray that those olive trees, the ones that are there, they continue to stay there. And we have to start telling these truths and these stories, and we need to listen to the people of Palestine and what they're saying. And so it's with my greatest respect and dignity, of course, and empathy and compassion for the Palestinian people that I stand in solidarity with you. And my thoughts and my prayers are with you. And, just like what Kanahouse was saying, we're all united in this. This is a global struggle against colonization that's happening. And I think everybody that has been colonized or is going through colonization needs to get involved and needs to be a part of this, because this is how we're going to win. We have to respect each other's diversity, respect each other's ideas and modes of thought, because when you look at the big spectrum of change, it takes a whole bunch of ideas and thoughts and principles and diversity for things to change. And so we need each other now more than ever, and we have to respect each other's diversity, and we have to start getting away from the colonizers' language too. We have to make space for our indigenous languages all the time. We have to make space for them, for our languages. And so for that, I just want to say Chimigwitchagom. I think that it's very important that we're doing this, and I thank all of you for participating. And so donate if you can, and plug in, listen to the great conversations that are happening. These are really amazing people here. And so let's keep going strong. Don't stop speaking your language. Don't stop defending your lands. Don't stop going into your special places. Because when we do that, we're also supporting Palestine through the great spirit of everything. And so again, there's links on here where you can support, where you can make donations. This is going to be ongoing, so you can support Palestine through this, not just now, but ongoing. And remember that there's lots and lots of children that need clothes, food, medical attention. They need to get some of those hospitals back up and running or new hospitals made. They're going to need our help. And so with that, I just plead out my heart to all of you that's watching and that may watch this in the future. Let's do what we can, everything we can to help. Because when we help them, we're helping the world become a better place. And that's what we want for our kids. And of course, part of that is our own diversity and our own language and our own stand in our environment. And so I say Chimigwechugom. We thank yous and good luck with everything. And I'll be listening as this goes on. So great job to the organizers. And I really would like to thank our special guest in Beirut. And just special blessings to you all. Thank you very much. Miigwech.
Thank you, Laith, Kukschow, Miigwech. Do we have Ginger? Do we have one of the elders? Do we have Ginger? Do we have Judy De Silva? Is Judy De Silva on here? Could you let me know one of our co-hosts if Judy De Silva is here? If you are, let's unmute you, or Dr. Janice Billy. Any of the other speakers? Right now we are asking for donations to Free Palestine TV, and just so amazing that Isaac just committed to donating $1,000 Free Palestine TV, and the link is, Laith knows it, freepalestine.video is where Free Palestine.video is where you could get donations.
Yes, once you go to their website there, it will direct you to the donor box where you can plug in through PayPal or credit card, and you can choose how much you want to donate, whether in American or Canadian, and how often. What we're trying to do right now is purchase the basics for the studio and for the mobile broadcasting unit. And if we are able, so to go back to how important the media work, as Isaac was saying, if we're able to even surpass our needs, you'll see on the website there the actual pieces that we have to buy. You can see even their prices online, so you know exactly what you're donating to in terms of equipment. But if we surpass our donation drive, we can buy similar broadcasting unit for communities in so-called Canada. So organizers can start going out with this equipment, first to cover Palestinian or pro-Palestine activities that are happening around Turtle Island, but then also to begin doing other work on indigenous liberation. And this is the model that we can build on. You see, right now it's called Free Palestine TV. Hopefully Palestine will be free soon. But this, this model that we will be building together will allow us to have a international capability of going live from the where the empire is hurting the indigenous people and broadcasting from them, and those who will in the indigenous communities and others in Turtle Island that will start working with these units will be ready for will have the skills and the know-how to do that work. And we've been talking, me and Kanahos, about this for a while, in terms of how specifically indigenous communities, their geographic isolation makes it harder to draw attention to the actions of resistance to colonization on the front lines. And these live broadcasting units and training on them and having those capabilities will help in bringing that reality to the rest of the world.
Laith, you want to bring Judy De Silva on?
Hey, Judy. It's been a while. Judy is one of the most important leaders in the indigenous communities from grassy narrows that have been resisting colonization in their land for decades now, from fighting the pollution of their waters with mercury to the mass clear cutting of their lands. And I had the honor to be allowed to visit them during the blockade of Grassy Narrows in the early 2000s. It was like, I think it was January 2003. And we took a delegation of Palestinian and Arab students from Montreal, from the universities, to the blockade. And I remember at that point, because it was, just a few months after we shut down the event of the war criminal Netanyahu trying to come to Concordia in 2002. I remember that getting the calls from Judy and others on the blockade saying the RCMP is stopping all the cars coming to the blockade, looking for the Palestinians, and that they were flying helicopters around the blockade because the warriors at Grassy Narrows flew the Palestinian flag on the blockade with the indigenous flags, and that freaked out the whole security apparatuses of Canada. And I would never forget those, the lessons we learned, and seeing the realities of colonization. And I believe that that visit to Judy and all those who we lost since then had opened the minds of many of those youth, Arabic Palestinian youth that were in the universities in Montreal, and changed their lives and changed their knowledge and how they act on the land that they are visitors on. So I bring, leave this now floor to you, but I had to say so much because I miss you. It's been so long, and because of how much this relation means to me.
Hello, bonjour. Can you hear me all right? Can you hear me all right? Yeah. Bonjour, I'm actually at the blockade site right now, and I lit a sacred fire for prayers, and that's been one of our go-to, like when we're protecting the land, is our spirituality as Nishnabek. I'm 61 years old now, and then I suffer from mercury poisoning. And like just thinking back to like 20 years ago when we started the blockade, like there's still no logging trucks coming through here, and it's because of the people that block the roads against colonialism, is what I'll say, and racism. And I know like across Turtle Island, it's we are the main target for industry, and like we face like mining right now, and also nuclear waste disposal close to our area. So it's always like a ongoing, it's like we're always on guard, like we're always in a fighting mode to protect our lands and waters. And I see the young people in Grassy Narrows also, like they're getting that message too, and they're getting stronger. But at the same time, the young people are very their hearts are on the ground. And like in Grassy Narrows, we have 23 times higher suicidal tendencies, and we just lost a young girl recently. She was only 14. And like what Isaac Murdoch said is like, our children have been a target since day one. And what my partner said is that they when they first came on our land, the colonizer came on our lands, Anishinaabe lands, indigenous territories. They tried to starve us by killing the buffaloes, but they couldn't kill us. Like, we just kept fighting. Like, by starving us, we just kept fighting. But then when they figured out they could kill us by like hurting our children, they found the greatest weapon to hurt us. And that's been the thing for most on my mind, is in Palestine, these bodies of little babies. And it's really painful to see that. And like to feel that, you know, that they're going through all this loss, and their relatives being killed, and so we feel it, you know, like we feel what our people have gone through too, in destroying our people, and that was through taking our children away, or hurting our children, abusing our children. And we feel it, you know, across Turtle Island. And I know, like in my own community, probably a lot of people don't really know about Palestine. But I know if they did hear about Palestine, they would, you know, stand with the people. But because of the media what do you call it, the blackouts, it's hard to get to the people. But like I'm saying, from here in the wigwam that I'm sitting at, where the blockade started, that we stand with you, and I stand with you, my kids stand with you, and like whoever is gonna donate, you know, donate and free Palestine. And I've seen the maps of when their loss of land, and we were going through the same thing, losing our land, our way of life, our language, our culture, and, you know, having to speak English and a foreign language, and then our kids not understanding our own language. So I just wanted to say, you know, like, stand strong. And I wanted to read something that I saw today. It's from John Hollowhorn, Oglala Lakota. He said, "Someday the earth will weep, she'll beg for her life, she'll cry with tears of blood. You will make a choice if you will help her or let her die. And when she dies, you too will die." And that's the bottom line, is like, when we're fighting to protect the lands and waters, it's not just for like my family, it's not just for my people, it's for like all people, like the people at Ferry Creek, or the Haudenosaunee, you know, fighting against pipelines, or Kanahus, you know, fighting against pipelines. Just goes on and on and on. Like, why we're doing this is not just for ourselves, but it's for all the humanity. And I wanted to say thank you for inviting me. And I like, I hope that my words will reach you, whoever's listening, and my heart's with you. Miigwech.
You know, when I came back to Lebanon, to this region, you know, 5 years ago, I made it part of my daily work to educate people on what is happening in terms of colonization of indigenous nations and the resistance to it. And I think most people get shocked here, when they understand the deliberate war on children, the infanticide that was done to Indigenous peoples in so-called Canada, and of course, because of your continued resistance, you were able to, as a peoples, to expose finally to the rest of the world, you know, with the discoveries, quote unquote, of the mass graves. And now, as we see, because of the Palestinian people working on the ground to bring the truth to the rest of humanity, everybody's seeing how our children are a target. And this has been a method that the European colonizers used for centuries, and they wanted people to forget it, and now humanity is remembering it. And we have to, you know, the more we bring the stories of indigenous nations, the genocide, what happened to them, what is happening to them, and how they're resisting it to the rest of the world, actually the freer people in Palestine will get. You know, with everybody getting on this planet to know more and more about every story on is adding to the weight in the battle against imperialism, and it's freeing us all. And I urge my Arabic brothers and sisters that are in Turtle Island to work urgently to in the aid of liberation of indigenous nations, not only because that's a duty of them being there, but also because it's something that liberates them themselves. We always have to look at how the liberation of others aids in our liberation, and it is that connection.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Judy Da Silva. Always so powerful to hear your words, and so powerful that you're right there on the blockade. It's just like who said if you have an opportunity to go to a blockade, go to a blockade. That's so important. That's so important. We need more blockades. Let's bring in Ginger, Georgina Crate, my sister, elder sister, and been on many blockades with her. And can you take it off mute? We really want to hear from you. Asking you got to meet Laith in person when he was visiting last time. There's a way to just hit your picture and then hit the speaker little microphone that will unmute you, unless Tori or someone could do that for you. But Georgina, she's been there with us on the front lines, there with Tiny House Warriors, as we're building tiny houses for frontline warriors to defend against pipelines, and very powerful elder woman. And let's see if we could get her on. She's done work at Nisconlet with our people. You know, Wolverine was alive. She was here with Kat Flo and all of our old elders that just love Ginger and just really want to continue to work with her. Could you share with us some of your thoughts and words?
She's unmuted now.
All right, good. 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 Wabanakway na Dishnikash, Mapato Dankishimadewi and also Kwaycon. I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Morningstar Woman and of the Bear Clan. I'm first degree woman, and I first degree Madewan. And I belong to the Creator. He created me. And that's where I come from. And I am really, really concerned about what's going on in the world, and sitting in the prayers and singing songs with people in Palestine. And as I did a bit of research on it, and I found out what happened and how it all came to be. It's so familiar to what we went through. And even though I say we went through it, we're still going through it too. So I think when I saw it, I really felt it, and I could relate to what they were feeling deep inside of me. And I wanted to pray, and when I did pray, and the Creator showed me that we are we are we are in a spiritual war, one of light against the and I see that the Palestinian people and those things over there, they're of light. And that they stand for that, and the sea of darkness. And talk to you, go and see what's going on here. And the genocide continues. You know, we may think of it in our own little world, which is safe and comfortable home. But there's people Indian people dying every day. I'm sorry. Like I said, very concerned. And you know, and it's time that we all said no. We all have to use our voices and say no to the colonization, and we don't give our consent to what you're doing to us and to the people in the poor people in the world. What's going on in Palestine? No, you don't have that right to do that to us or anybody else. And therefore we stand together and we raise our voices strong, strong, and together we'll make it through all of this. I'll let me say right now. Okay, I'll give it back to you. I'll talk later if I can. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know, what we see right now is 2 months ago, we saw attacks on hospitals, attacks on killing whole families, 3 generations of them, and the whole world was shocked. But now, 2 months later, they're doing it on a daily basis. And it is not, it's actually normalized. So the West, led by the United States and the Zionist colony, have now normalized, infanticized, have killed more people, medical workers in a span of 70 somewhat days than all of any war ever. So more than World War I, World War II. They killed more journalists than any war ever. More than World War II, more than Vietnam. And the percentage of children being killed in Gaza is higher than the numbers killed in Auschwitz in its height. So it is and if we don't manage to stop this now, if the Palestinian people do not get their liberation today, the West will do this to everybody else because nothing now is stopping them. The United Nations can't do anything, Security Council can't do anything. The whole world, even the population in Canada, so-called Canada, can't stop their government from supporting the genocide in Palestine, even though the vast majority of citizens in Canada are anti-genocide in Gaza. So we can see that people in Canada right now are losing their superficial freedoms that they had before. There's no more freedom of speech. There's no more freedom of press, not for Palestinians only, but for all citizens of Canada. There's no more democracy, really. There's not one party in the parliament is taking the position that the vast majority of citizens want. And now Canada is also has and the United States, all these countries have an actual religion of the state. And it's not Judaism, it's not Christianity. It's Zionism, the political ideology. You can make fun of and denigrate any prophet, any religion, including Judaism, including indigenous religions, and including Islam and Christianity, but you cannot denigrate the state of Israel or the political ideology of Zionism. So now the official religion of Canada is Zionism. And so this is a threat on all of us. It's not only a threat about Palestinians and their liberation. And you are right with that. Our liberation is intertwined now.
Can we get some more speakers? I know that I see Christy Belcourt is here. Would you be willing to come on, Christy?
Hey, thanks for the invitation to speak. Tansei, everybody. Tansei, Christine Nitsikason. Mantusaki, Gnochinia. Nimki Ojbakong, Megwa Espanola, Megwa Chnawigan. I live in Espanola and Nimki Ojbakong. And I just got out of surgery like on Monday, so I'm a little bit half at my power, but I'm getting back. So I wanted to say thank you so much to organizing this. The purpose of Palestinian TV or Free Palestine TV is so important, given that the media is completely controlled, including social media, by corporate agenda, by the corporate capitalist agenda. I really support and agree with what Isaac said about this being about resources. The entire colonial project of the world has always been about resources. In terms of what is happening now in Gaza. I wish I could say it properly, but maybe I'll learn how to say it properly. And what Laith said about the plants, the olive trees, I think the reason why the Free Palestine TV is so important is because when we're able to get our stories out, when Palestinians get their stories out, whether that's through social media right now or any other means, it's changing the minds of people, it's educating the people. And this has to continue in order for us to be able to join forces around the world, because it's not just there, it's not just here, it's in the Congo, it's in Sudan, it's in all over the world. There is I guess when you think about how European colonization has completely, and combine that with capitalism under the false guise of democracy, has completely destroyed what is going on in the world. We're facing a climate crisis. We have to be able to join forces with one another. We have to be able to have communication tools where we can hear the truth of what's going on with each other's struggles. And so that's why I'm going to make a monthly donation. I can't do like Isaac, I can't match him $1,000 right today, but over time I will be able to. I'll do a monthly donation to keep that going. I believe in a free media. And I was going to say about what Leigh said about the plants is as some of you know, I love plants so much. I love everything about our lands. And to think that they have, purposely cut down 800,000 olive trees, um, you know, restricted access to the plants, the most basic relationships we have as human beings on this planet are with the plants and the animals and the waters. And to think also not just the restriction of the olive trees or the cutting down of those olive trees, but to think also of the plants that Israel has put on the endangered species list as a political maneuver to restrict access of Palestinians to the plants that nourish their bodies, that give them medicines, like, for example, zatar and sage and all other things where they grow naturally and wild. And we know how we have restrictions on our access to our plants, to our waters, and where our plants are growing and how that affects us, how we depend on the life of the land to give us life and to give us health. And so that's all I'm going to say because I'm still recovering from this. But I just want to say, Kinanasko, which means thank you. And I just want to say thank you to everybody and free Palestine.
There's so many similarities in our ways as indigenous peoples, relations with our lands and our resistance to them, or how the colonizers are trying to cut us off from this nature that we belong to. I know that many nations in the East and the West Coast of so-called Canada are resisting for their right to access their waters and the fishing that they have. And, so looking at the Mi'kmaq nation and on the West Coast, these Salish peoples that are fighting industrialized fishing and the repression of the Canadian Coast Guard and Navy that stops them from accessing these resources and managing them in a way that is sustainable and natural. That reminds us, of course, of what happens to the fishers in Gaza, where their right to fish is restricted to a 3-kilometer zone, and it's arbitrary when they can and when they can't go out fishing. They get shot at, and their boats are capsized, just like happened to indigenous nations over the many years, and even recently in the East Coast. And when we talk about, how the pollution that is purposefully being done to the waters, like in Grassy Narrows and all the other places in so-called Canada that are indigenous, that is a tactic. We see that happening in Palestine, purposeful, even in 1948, there was purposeful poisonings of wells and aquifers to kill indigenous Palestinians and force them to move out of their land. And as we hear right now, the Zionists wanting to flood the tunnels under Gaza with sewage water and with seawater, and thus poisoning the aquifers of Gaza for the next 100 years. And so this is a purposeful tactic destroying the nature that we depend on as Palestinians, as indigenous peoples in Turtle Island. And it's happened. What the reason that people are seeing it in Palestine right now is so clearly is because the colonizer is being viciously doing it. They're doing it in the center of the world geographically, Palestine. It's not in the isolated location in Canada, far away from the eyes of the world, and it's also being done so like as if it's in 1600s, wild wild west style in the year 2023. Pronounce?
Quite, everyone. I was just scrolling through to see who was all here, and I was like thinking that one of my friends were here from Nisqually, but I'm not sure if that's her. But but we know that there was some weapons that were being delivered, and they had these big tankers, and there was people in California that was resisting because these weapons were heading to Palestine and heading over there. So people start trying to figure out how to block these big tanker ships that were in California. Then they got up to Seattle, and the natives, they got on their canoes and they went out there, and their canoes all carved and their travel canoes, and they went to stop the tankers. But yeah, she's here. I want to see, she's from the so-called states, but we don't recognize the borders. But I want her to hop on to see if she'll share some words about that action and what her people did to help resist, and just share some words. She's from Nisqually, so if you're there, come on.
Hi guys, yeah, my name is Shanae Nisqually. I'm a council member for the Nisqually Indian tribe. We answered the call to action in November, and well, I couldn't answer at 4 a.m, but after I got the kids to school and stuff, I went and grabbed the canoe and brought it up to Tacoma. And yeah, we did a prayer. We put our paint on. I actually hopped on the support boat first because there was like those military guard ships that wanted to mess with the canoes and the kayakers. So we hopped on, and they were basically yelling at the ship has guns on it and stuff. We're just in a little tiny boat, and then we have our canoes in the water. So yeah, we stopped them. I argued with them for a bit because they said we had no right to be there, and I was like, check out the treaty, check out the Medicine Creek Treaty. This is our usual and accustomed area. We have a right to be here. So it was a really good day, and the water warriors actually filled up the canoe. So if they weren't there, we wouldn't have enough people to even paddle in that canoe. So it was a beautiful day. My council, the rest of the council, I let them know what I was doing. I let the culture department know, and they all supported me. Even though they couldn't make it, they supported me. And for weeks on end, I worked on a resolution for a permanent ceasefire, and everybody supported me up until the day to stand in solidarity with Palestine. I think it was November 30th. I sent out a flag for people, and it says Nisqually stands with Palestine. And I got a lot of backlash, and the rest of the council saw the backlash, and they ended up not voting on my resolution. Like, I motioned to pass this resolution. I never got a second, and I never got a vote, but I'm still working on it, and I still believe this will pass, and a majority of our tribe supports Palestine. I have cousins who are part Jewish, and they are standing in solidarity with this movement. And our own chairman, he's also Jewish, and he stands with this movement as well. I was not prepared to talk today. Sorry, just got done cooking lunch and hopped on.
Thank you. Thank you for your courage. It takes a lot of courage, especially, to stand up so strong for our relatives. And we know how that is. Sometimes we get isolated because we're making a strong stance, but people are going to join on. And we thank Ms. Squally. We thank you for sharing some words and to take that courageous action that day to go out onto the sea against the weapons boats. That's really important. And it might be some of the only first time that Laith and some of the people are hearing your action here. So maybe if you could share in the chat some link to some news article or whatever that came out from that day, or social media, so people could see the canoes that you used. So that was really courageous, and thank you. It got my attention. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I'll look for those links and put them in the chat.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you for the time.
I would like to also thank you on behalf of my people, and I again emphasize that your actions as Indigenous nations and Indigenous peoples are one of the most appreciated of all the solidarity across this earth in support of the liberation of Palestine. And what you described in terms of the pressures against the motion that you were trying to pass, all of this work on Palestine is allowing us all to see power lines in our society more visibly. And the Palestinians have the Palestinian Authority, which is like the band councils. It's a colonial construct that, for the most part, as in Canada, many of the band councils are collaborating with the Canadian state, for instance, similar to the Palestinian Authority, which was built as a copy of these band councils, is helping the Israelis, for instance, in the West Bank, identify the youth that are, resisting and so on. So, just doing this work, all of us, helps us see this and exposes these injustices within the structures, the colonial structures that we live in, more clearly. But again, I thank you from my heart, all of you, and for all the amazing solidarity.
I'm trying to see if there's who else is on this call that we never got on. I saw Roxanne, and I'm pretty sure this is the fighter Roxanne that came to Tiny House Warriors that's fighting the Alberta tar sands as well. And if
Roxanne Blood.
she's still on, it would be good to hear from her. Is she still on? She's still here, Roxanne Blood.
Yes, Roxanne here. Okay, everyone. I'm very honored to be here and to be a part of this conversation, to understand what our brothers and sisters are dealing with in Palestine, and to support the people of Gaza, the children. So my prayers to your people and our people as we go through this colonization and capitalization that's constricting our authenticity as Indigenous people and our right to live here and be here on this land, Mother Earth. This has taken me by surprise. I have my sister here, Karen, and I'd like her to be able to share with you if she can be able to at least say the Blackfoot prayer for the people in Palestine on behalf of our people of Kainai Nation, to bring in the spirits and all those that are being affected. So Karen. Yeah. I just want her to say if she can just offer her support to Palestine.
Okay, my name is Karen Rose Crowshoe, and I am from the Blackfoot Confederacy, Treaty 7 in Alberta, Canada. And I am in full support of Palestine, the children, the people that are being genocided upon. We've gone through that here in Canada with our residential schools. I'm a fourth generation survivor of residential schools. It's just really tragic that this is going on in this day and age, that this war on killing innocent people, it has to stop. All we want is peace on this Mother Earth, and to be protecting our waters, the land, Mother Nature. And yes, my prayers are with Palestine and all of you that are here listening, learning about what's going on. It's a gift to us all to pass on to our families and friends. Thank you.
So yes, prayers to all of you, and just sending you all hope and support that we become one voice and stand up against whatever's coming for the children, the innocence of the children. So with protecting the water of the people there too, I just was blown away by what they want to do to pollute the water for over 400 years. That is just like, where are these people coming from? The madness is just outrageous. And as grandmothers, we need to stand together. We need to offer those prayers. And so my heartfelt condolences and all of us to join hands and to be as one. So hi. Thank you, Canahus, for allowing me to speak. If I can pass that torch on to Thalnanter. Mary Jane Sayazi speaking from Black Lake, if she can take over and speak on behalf of her people. Mary Jane, if you can say the Dene prayer, I pass that torch to you. Hi.
Mary Jane, thank you. You're here on this live. We'd like you to join us now. Thank you, sister.
Hi. Da dao na. That means live a long life. And si Penalt Arushe. I am Penalt Dene name, and it means the rock that fell. And my English name is Mary Jane Sayazi. And I am the descendant of the Camp 10 survival of Churchill, Manitoba. When the first war ended, when Hitler and everybody came here, they found our name and they called us Athabascans. But it actually means Athabaskets, and it means minerals and all that. And I would like to do a prayer in the Dene language. So for the whole world, for us to be free from everything that we're under, and for us to be loving each other and support and love each other from now on. Nyotsine duntsine ke soni ahar yuntena bitseneni bitsieni so benini so harayuntsanotse nuris kesi nyotsine dene soltinao dene harayuntene gode ni gane thanele edine the gane thanelo harayun tu ha sinde se dun sono I said in my Dene language, I thank the Creator and I ask for prayers to help us all, human beings in this world, to love each other and to start loving our water, our sacred earth, because that is our life, for everybody's life. And we live in peace from this day to help each other. I ask for her to help us. Thank you, sisters. I love you all.
Thank you.
Which for the prayers.
Oh, I want to say one more thing. Can I say one more thing? I want to say ceasefire on all the uranium resources that is coming behind our backyards. Kuta, nuhetsini, ibeta echetzegalse, inledaruhni kuta bedin. Ceasefire on all the resources removing from our backyards. Hi.
Yes, and connecting the dots between all of the resource extraction of this uranium and all of this weapon making resources that they're taking from indigenous soil. And it's all connected, the big global oil fight that indigenous people are fighting, and this mineral fight, extracting all these rare earth minerals and weapon making minerals out of our territories. It's all connected, and we need to really connect that oil and gas industry to the weapon and the mining industry with the weapon making industry of the world. It's all connected. And these are really heavy conversations, and I really appreciate the prayers of our grandmothers, because it's really that powerful prayers. And like Ginger said, this is a spiritual war that's happening on the planet right now, and those prayers are needed. Those calling out to the universe and sending our voice to the universe for the higher powers is needed. And so thank you for bringing that to this live event right now, and hopefully everybody that's out there will join their prayers as well. And I asked my sister Elena to be on this call because really we need each other during all of these hard times, but also because she really inspired me to raise freedom babies that aren't registered with the system, and the children that are being targeted and attacked, and hearing the grandmothers' voices right now, just to send those extra thoughts out to all of the children and all of the babies that are suffering, and all of the spirits all of the people that are off to the spirit world right now. And on that journey, we pray for them as well too, and so much catastrophe and death that we see on social media. And prayers for this Free Palestine TV, that we can see it grow big and be a real template for us as Indigenous peoples of the world to be able to have our own free Indigenous TV that could be out there for us Indigenous peoples everywhere. And I know that Free Palestine TV will also always allow us to come and with our message of solidarity and support, and think tanks, and how we're going to grow together as a bigger movement collectively. But I want to pass it to Elena right now. She's the one that was really pushing all of the information that I was ever getting on social media about the Palestinian struggle was coming from my sister Elena. So I know a lot of people are seeing her stories, but she comes from a really strong family, and she was interrupted during her introduction. And just so our people could hear some of the prayers in the language of her people, I'll bring Elena back on. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenahus. We're winding down here to the end, so I just want to acknowledge all the prayers and the powerful words from all the guests today. Thank you so much for the host for having us here for this important cause. It's so important for us to keep speaking out about Palestine, not only because of the similarities in our struggles and the past acts of solidarity between Palestinians and the native people of this land, but because of those attempts to censor and erase the voices of the Palestinians. We will not stand for it. And we want to amplify their voices and as well as their experiences. They're experiencing brutal occupation right now. And not only them, but other places all over the globe. So we want to bring that to the forefront as much as possible. As long as there's an occupation by Zionists on Palestinian land, there will be resistance, and rightfully so. As Uchamil Shtletlium, person of this land, I support the resistance 100%. Palestinians never disrupted any peace, or they didn't start anything. They've been forced to defend themselves, with land and life loss being the only other option. So we support them, and if there's any resources or sources that anybody would like to share, we'd love to see it. As we know, the people have lived there in those Arab countries together for a long time. So I just want to send my prayers out to them and hope that I know that they will get freedom. The Palestinians have a right to live and move freely in their own homelands in peace, and we're here to stand by them. Not only that, but they have every right to self-determination and to make decisions on their own behalf. That includes their land and their water. And I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional because I just can't stand to sit by and watch. So just know that we are with you. We stand by you. You are not alone. And we know that you have been enduring this for almost 80 years, colonial military occupation, violent control, and this must be stopped. The political prisoners must be released, especially those with no charges, and some of them have severe medical issues and they are suffering greatly. So please donate to this cause. We want to help amplify their voices and to give them a voice that the settlers and the army are trying so hard to silence. So I also want to say that it's not only in Gaza, but all of Palestine, the West Bank, Jenin and Nablus. They're also suffering right now too. Many people are being killed. They have been being killed. This did not begin in October. This has been going on for a long, long time. So that's one of the most important points that I want our Indigenous people here to know, is that do not listen to this Western media the same way that they demonize us and dehumanize us is what they're doing to them right now. So just know that, to make up your own mind and to talk to the Palestinians and support the Palestinians the best that you can. There's people from different walks of life there, and it's not just what the media is showing. So I'm sorry if I'm going off here, but I'm very passionate about giving them a voice because I see what's happening and they did the same thing to us. So Kukshimkau, thank you very much. And thank you to everybody who's listening and donating. It really means a lot, and continue to donate. Kukshimkau.
It's coming to the end of this online Live of Solidarity fundraising event, and you could fundraise and you could continue to push the way that people could donate here to Free Palestine TV. It's freepalestine.video. Laith could say it again, but I wanted to say that by supporting Free Palestine TV, it's giving everybody a voice, and it's giving an outlet for other organizers to be able to fundraise for other frontline organizing cause, because I know that Laith has been just amazing in giving solidarity, real frontline blockade solidarity to us Indigenous people, all the way over to so-called British Columbia and Secwepemc territory. We've had connections with the Palestinian people because they're on our blockade. Like Judy had a whole crew that just came to her blockade. It just rattled all of Canada. That's how scared they are of our solidarity with each other. And so I thank everybody that came onto this call. I hope that this is something that we could continue to do with Free Palestine TV. And I'm going to pass it over to Laith, but my prayers are for a free Palestine and a free Secwepemc Uluk and Turtle Island as well. It's connected. So thank you. I'm going to pass it over to Laith to close off now. Thank you.
I just want to say the Manuel family have been like a blood family to me. I had the honor of being there doing the Sun Peaks blockade in the early 2000s and the fight to liberate that land. And of course, I had the honor to meet Wolverine. I was one of the only non-Indigenous people in the 10-year anniversary of the Gustafson Lake standoff, the Chipatan Lake standoff, and Arthur Manuel, I've interviewed many times. I actually was just going through tapes of interviews that I did from that time, and I'm gonna hopefully be uploading them soon so we can look at time passage and the wisdom of those elders that left us. My solidarity goes to the Dene people in the Nende Dene land. I visited it there and I saw the how this extraction of uranium that brought us Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the nuclear attacks, and the much of the Israeli weapons that are nuclear weapons that are unannounced. Some of that uranium coming from Canada, and so our struggles are connected. Everybody that is not Indigenous in Canada should go to the blockades, go to every action to help them, in the Indigenous people struggle for liberation. This is their duty, anybody that is on that land. And this is how I conducted myself throughout my time in so-called Canada. I couldn't work only on the liberation of Palestine because that would be selfish if I'm trying to just work for the liberation of Palestine in a land that is colonized by the same oppressor that is colonizing my land. And that's so we have to build those connections. And this is why the Zionists and the Canadian government are so scared, because they know if Palestine is liberated, Canada is next. Okay, this is what they're scared of, and they're scared of these relations we're building. They're scared of the knowledge. They're scared of the fact that people don't want to immigrate anymore to so-called Canada because they see more of the truth of how it's treating its indigenous or the indigenous nations of the land, and the quote-unquote immigrants, how mistreated they are. Thank you all for the solidarity. Please continue donating. Free Palestine, that video is the website. Our work with you, even as it goes on, will grow with your presence. Thank you very much all.
Free Palestine.
Free Turtle Island.